that he had actually been touching both of my daughters, who are only 2 and 4 years old.
Not a music.
Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, in here with my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
Yeah, man, excited for a very powerful episode. Usually we really go all out when it comes to the testimonies, and we get so many messages and DMs and emails of how people's lives are literally changed just from hearing somebody else's story.
And this is going to be no different. You guys are familiar with this sister because we've saw her all over our timelines. We've saw her all over our YouTube algorithms. It's probably been somewhere in your group chats. And everybody has formed their own opinion of the situation. So we had to reach out personally to Isis so she can come to Hardly Initiated and tell her own story. So without further ado, I want to welcome my sister here, Isis Morales. Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
How you feeling right now, Isis?
That was a lot watching the video again because I haven't watched it again since I first uploaded it. So
You haven't watched the video since you uploaded it?
I can't because it's like reliving the experience over again.
Yeah. No,
You know how that is when we watching back our old content. Some of it can be hard to watch, so I can only imagine.
I
know
get
people
it.
be
I get
saying
it. I'm
she
I'm
lying,
happy
but
that
she gotta be a
you
great
had the
actor
courage
if
to
she
come up here
was
today and really speak with us and speak with anybody. I know there's currently a pending case.
Yeah.
You know, happening.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. There's a pending case currently happening. Open with the conversation what happened. So obviously we're gonna do our best to get as much information as possible. So again, thank you for being here. We're going to get into the conversation shortly. Thank you for all the initiates that were patient in the chat. I had to get my girl Isis straight and make sure she was ready for the show here.
Right.
If you're ready, put a "we ready" in the chat. All right. Because we are excited to have this conversation here tonight. All right.
Yeah, highly anticipated. I told you before the show, my mom's been keeping up with the story, so she not on YouTube. She's not keeping up with stuff. So
When you said that, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I didn't expect it to have this impact at all.
I mean, it's
I'm
impacting
sure.
people of all shapes, sizes, generations, and genders.
Over probably 2.5 million views in just a few weeks. You know, I don't think anybody would have expected, the video to have that kind of impact. But we're going to go into some of that today here, which I'm very excited about, Isis. The first thing I want to do before is talk about our episode sponsor here, because our episode sponsor, the Fight the Flesh bracelet. I want everybody to rock, especially if you're my initiates. Go ahead, copy a nice gold-plated
Big facts.
Fight the Flesh bracelet. It is going to be, and we give you a special discount live for 10% off.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the description. Another piece of your armor.
Fight the Flesh is the mantra, guys, and this is the thing. We need a daily reminder to continue to remind us of all the things that we are fighting daily. And a lot of times you can have a list of all the things you got to overcome. And many times the main thing is yourself. So if you are on your own list, I know I am, then you absolutely need to get one of these. And my favorite thing is when we run into people that's wearing them and rocking them religiously. I just love that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I need one for my son. I need one for my sons.
You know what?
We're going to send the whole fam one.
We'll
send the whole fam one.
We
We can do
We
that.
sending the Fight the Flesh bracelets
A care
over
package.
to you, Isis. So we got you. And guys, for those of you who want to get active in the show, super chats is how you do so. Any super chat over 20, we'll read it on the show. I ask that you guys be respectful. This is a very different kind of episode here, and we're going to make it through. We even have a surprise. I think my sister, Dr. Spirit, is going to get on a little bit later.
Yep.
All right, we started late, so hopefully she still can come on here. But we're going to also have that addition to the show, and we'll open up the hotlines as well. But without further ado, over to you, Isis. But before we get into the story that most people are familiar with, I think it's very important to start from the beginning. Because you have a story that most of us don't know of. Obviously, we saw you on YouTube. You had a YouTube channel where you was coaching young women to help them in their relationship so they can attract a very specific kind of man. But prior to that, there's a whole story we don't know. Mm-hmm. So if you can take us back to growing up, right? Growing up at home, what did your home look like in your early childhood growing up?
due to the dynamics of surrounding my birth, which I already talked about, I grew up with a single mom, and my mom did everything possible to provide for me and my little sister. And I think the hard part about being a single mom is that when you're trying to do everything, sometimes it's hard to show up for your children. And I know my mom has always done the best she could, and she's always given us a good life, and she's always protected me. She's always protected me. And I couldn't really ask for more. But I knew that when I had a family, or when I wanted to have a family, that I wanted to be able to be there for my children, whether that looked like working from home or being married. I always wanted to be able to be there for my children, just so that I knew that they were safe. Because when I was a child, because my mom was working,
Take your time.
it left the door open. A neighbor's wife was supposed to be watching me after school, and her husband was taking advantage. And I was only 8 years old at this time.
Wow.
And
8?
I didn't tell my mother for a while because it was just confusing, and I was scared, and I thought I would get in trouble. Oh my goodness.
Take your time.
So just to summarize that, I want to make sure I understand. You had was it a single family home growing up? Your
Yes.
mom, she was a obviously hardworking woman that had
Yes,
to provide for the
very
family
much so.
all by
And
herself.
in school, always has a PhD, all the above. All the above. My mom has really strived. Every woman in my family, even my grandmother, it started with her. I mean, she owns a business, a very successful woman. There's multiple entrepreneurs in my family, so we've always just been, just go get it, make it happen. And I've always been that way. Before meeting my husband, I always worked, provided for my children. I never got child support for my 2 boys. I took care of them. I luckily was able to secure a job with a family business, so I was able to work from home. But it's what I had prayed for when I was pregnant with my second son, because his father got incarcerated when I was 6 months pregnant. And I didn't know what I was going to do, because it was just going to be me. And
what kind of dude was that?
he didn't get out until my son was about 9 months old. But I had to figure it out. And thank you to my aunt and uncle for giving me that opportunity to be able to be home with my children and provide for them. And we had a nice apartment, and, we had all the good things. I had my own car. I had all my own stuff. But I remember it was one Christmas when it was just us, and I said, you know what? I would like to be married. And I had never said that before. I never wanted to be married, just because, I haven't really seen a lot of successful marriages in my life. So when, I'm sorry, I'm talking too far away. But when I had that Christmas, it dawned on me that, maybe I should really put myself out there and try to find a good man for these kids. And, I had 2 boys, and I feel like they needed a good fatherly example because they didn't have it.
Now, we definitely want to dig into that as well. And I want to go back, because I don't want to just breeze past this incident that happened at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Now, you get assaulted by a neighbor's
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
And where's your father at this point? He's just...
My biological
Great question.
father is much older than my mother. He took advantage of her when she was a young girl in high school. I think I remember my mom saying she was in labor trying to take her SATs.
Wow.
And she was the pregnant girl in high school. And it's unfortunate that he preyed on her like that. But there's so many men like this out there.
It's
people
generational
just don't
trauma
talk
in
about
her
it.
family.
And so the situation is your mother coming from an abusive relationship. Now she has you. You're 8 years old. You go through this traumatic experience with the spouse of a neighbor.
Yeah.
And let's fast forward a bit. because if I'm not mistaken, you had your first child at 17.
Yes. Yes.
So before having this child, what did sex look like to you at this point? Like when was your first sexual experience and kind of getting active?
Probably when I was about 13. I lost my virginity to a 17-year-old boy in high school. And yeah, I mean, I was always told just don't have sex growing up.
13 is crazy.
I don't know if that's what a lot of people in our community say.
They hear that a lot, I'm
just
sure.
don't do it. It's not really openly discussed about why and what can happen, and even personal experiences that may sway a young girl away from making certain decisions. But, you know, I have learned, and I really wanted to be able to speak to young moms when I created my platform. Because if I would have done it over again, granted, I love my children, but if I can speak to a young woman and say, like, don't have kids before marriage if you can help it, you know, it's going to be a little bit easier. You know, just trying to be real and open and honest. I was a single mom, and this is what happened, and I found what I thought was a good husband, seemed like a good husband, but turned out to be just a monster.
I want to ask this because do you feel like that experience that happened at 8, obviously you had your first sexual experience at 13, you know, intentionally,
Yeah.
It sounds like, did that experience at 8 years old, do you feel like that influenced that experience at 13? Did it hypersexualize you in a way?
I'm sure it's all connected. Because I believe that women who
13 is young.
are basically taught from a young age that their value is in what's between their legs start to internalize that, and it's unfortunate.
And I can imagine a ton of confusion going on at that time. And now you're 17 and you involved with a young man. And if I'm not mistaken, you stated this before, that you intentionally had a child.
Yeah.
So when you say at 17 you intentionally decided to, you know, move forward with bearing a child, what exactly does that mean, and what was your mindset?
We as a couple, we kind of had this whirlwind romance. I actually met him here in Atlanta. So, on a train coming from Alexandria to Atlanta, and everything clicked, and he said, will you give me a son? And I said yes.
Wow.
And I was pregnant almost immediately, and I love my son.
How long did you did you guys have a relationship at that point?
Oh my gosh, it was probably like a few weeks. It wasn't long. It wasn't long at all. And I still consider him a friend to this day. Like,
Wow.
he's still a good
Her
friend.
discernment is
How old was he?
He was a few years older than me.
You knew a man for a couple weeks and you have his child? Like, what? And I know the situation with her getting married was kind of along those lines of just, you was moving kind of fast. Now I want to know the answer to that, but because by all means, what happened to you when you was a child? Okay, it happened to you when you was a child, but you also said you learned from it. But you getting pregnant by a man that you met on the train after a couple of weeks is a little wild.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was your first child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just to confirm, before you met your now husband, how many children did you have?
2.
Okay, so when did you have your second child?
I had my second child with someone I knew from high school. I had known him. He went to a different high school from me, but I forget how we met. I think at the library we met. And my mom liked him. He was nice. And I actually ended up moving back home after things didn't work out with my oldest son's father. And I actually saw him when we were working somewhere together. I had gotten a new job and he happened to be working there too. And it was just like, oh my gosh, hey, you know, and, you know, we started a relationship and my son came about, and yeah.
So at this point, you, I'm assuming
How long you knew him?
1920, you got 2 children. And from my understanding, your sister now, you know.
Well, I would say no. I was like 21 when I got pregnant, or around the time. I
Gotcha.
remember when I turned 21. I think I was pregnant. I couldn't even drink on my 21st
Wow.
birthday because I was pregnant with my second son.
And what is your mother at this point communicating to you about men?
My mother has always told me that you need to be very careful about men in general, and I don't want to paint every man in a bad light, but there can be a predatory side that some men do not control and do not want to control, and that's the dangerous part.
And where was your father at this point in time in your life?
Nowhere around. I mean, he had threatened my mother that if she tried to even get child support from her, that he would.
Fathers, this is why we are so important. Although something happened to this young lady when she was young, and it definitely did something to her psyche, you know, as she got older. But at the same time, the dad missing in this young lady's life, she's getting pregnant by people that she known for 2 weeks. And even the guy that she's going to get into, but the guy that she married, she ain't really know him for real. This is why we have to guide our daughters. Whether her story is fully true or not, I just feel like this is a great time to plug that in, because just in case you didn't know how important it is for you to be in your daughter's life or even in your son's life, this is it right here. You know what I mean? The father is not around, and a lot of this happens to women that don't know their dad for real.
And her.
Not all.
And her family members.
But a lot.
Wow.
So he was nowhere. Nowhere.
Okay, so you now at the point, you got 2 young boys, and are you at this point, after your second pregnancy, are you considering dating? Are you having conversations? Kind of what direction you want to take your life? What's happening?
After things didn't work out with my second son's father, and it was that Christmas that I told you where I was like, I really need to create a family for my children. Gotcha. And, just do things the right way. And I knew I wanted more children. I love my babies. I think I'll have another one in 10 years, maybe. But right now, that's just not on my mind at all. I have 5 beautiful babies, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of them. And they're my reason and my purpose. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you fine. I just wanted to get an idea of what kind of inspired you to get back into the dating market, which it sounds like you wanting to start a family.
It was that.
Start fresh.
It was that. Just wanting to find a good man that I could respect because of the type of women that were in my family, very high achievers, and just really everyone in my family has been a very high achiever, that I had a certain expectation of what a husband should look like. And also, finding certain content. I don't know if I should even talk about any of that.
Well, I think you should, because all of that influences how you think and particularly how you go about dating.
Okay.
And, right now it is still very much so a gender war. Both men and women are confused about how to date and how to make decisions. Yeah. And I think everything and anything that influenced you at that time is important to share. Well,
I had shared this before, that I stumbled across a very important content creator that I think everyone knows as the hypergamous queen. Her videos are shared, sprinkle videos everywhere.
I just learned about the sprinkle. I didn't know about it.
So a lot of people are new to this, but I was true to it because I was following before there was 100,000 subscribers, like me and my sisters, and
that's Shira 7. Correct?
Shira 7, yes.
And I recently checked out her page. Thousands and thousands of views, and she's been doing it for a very long time.
For sure.
Yes. So I was telling every woman that I met in person, like, there's a content creator that makes really good content just about, really, it seemed like how women could take their power back is how it felt. That's how it felt at the time.
Yeah. So that when you went from a place of not wanting marriage at all.
See, when you say it seems like women could take that power back, you're going into a relationship with a motive that love is not the motive. I understand if she was telling you get a certain kind of guy or whatever, but if you're getting a certain kind of guy so you could benefit in some type of way, that blocks off the possibility of having, what is the word for it? For having natural love between this person, for having natural connection, a natural connection with this person, or organic connection is what I was looking for. It cuts that off when you're going into something to pull your power back. Because now all you want is power in a situation. So now you're blinded by whether or not this is actually a good person for you, or whether or not you and this person actually match. Because all you're worried about is getting your power back, or finding a situation that you could benefit from.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And then you started to want marriage. Was she a part of the reason?
To me, that is the same thing with guys that look for a girl that has the biggest booty. Know what I mean? Or guys that look for a girl because, she's good in the bed or something like that. Or she just physically. You don't care nothing about what's up here. And then you deal with her and then you find out, dang, like I ain't even realized you was this much of a headache. Because all you was worried about was the physical.
Believe that.
And how you could benefit.
What? Probably. And
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You know what? Probably. And I hate to say that, but probably it just seemed more secure for a family. It just seemed right. It just seemed more stable, like we would be on a solid foundation. And I prayed to God about it because, you can subscribe to certain things that people talk about, but you don't have to subscribe to everything that they talk about. And I've always had a relationship with God, and Jesus is the one true Lord. And I prayed about it and asked God to send me the right man. It wasn't just about what he had. It was never about what he had. Because if it was about that, I had a lot of other options with more. And it was really about how he treated my children. Because he seemed to love my boys. And he said, oh, those are my boys. You remind me of my mom. She was a single mom with 2 boys. And I would just love to help you and be there for you and be the man you guys need. Oh my gosh.
So you know what? I want to, before we actually get deep into, this situation that took place with your husband, I think it's important to, talk about the impact. I'm actually happy you shared that because, we had that we had a debate just the other night where that was a part of the conversation because who you watch and learn from, that's discipleship. That's mentorship.
Oh my goodness.
That's who you are, in submission to.
Yes.
Under their leadership.
You know what? That's so true.
The thing about it is now when you're discipling under somebody to make the most important decision in your life, this is how I choose my partner. That's the biggest decision we make. They have a lot of influence on our future and the future of our children. What do you think was the biggest takeaway from that content creator in particular that impacted you? What was the biggest takeaway, or what empowered you from her in particular?
It's a great question.
That made you feel that safety and security. Like, what was it? A particular lesson or principle that was given to you?
I think that a lot of times, like I stated before, that women are taught that their value is in what's between their legs. And she was the first person that said that it was true. And you don't have to give it away to just anybody. A man should be worth your time. He should be, taking you out. He should be investing in you. He should be making your life easier if he cares about you. And that's
the red pill version for the
I
women.
think that makes sense.
I want to.
This is what I'm saying. The feminist movement and the red pill stuff, it's really hurting the dating realm. Like it's just pandering to desperate people, making them feel comfortable. Instead of telling people, no, you have to work through those traumas. Now you're telling people how to finesse the game, and they wind up in these horrible situations because you're not really giving them the context of real life.
I ask you this because, right now, hindsight, with where you are today, do you feel like that was the healthiest content to digest, or do you have any regrets in really watching that content to help guide your decision making?
So funny thing about me is I don't have regrets. I believe that God is working in perfect order, in perfect timing, and there's nothing that happens that he has not approved or seen. And unfortunately, our family, not just our family, but our family in public have, especially my daughters, have had to be sacrificial lambs in the result of what has happened. And yeah.
So now let's talk to me about meeting your husband now, because I can imagine after you watch this content, it's probably preparing you for the suitors that come into your life, how to vet them, how to manage them. Was he one of the early suitors?
Yes.
Was he the first one, or were there a few guys before him?
He was one of the first few, and he pursued me heavily, which I liked. I think that women like a man that pursues and says that, I want you. And
you initially met him online?
Yes, online. I'm sorry. Okay. We met online. I don't want to throw the website out there, but if people have been watching, then they know. I don't want to make the website a bad place. That's not what it's about. But we did meet online. Yes.
I get it. And you meet online. You set up a date.
Yeah.
Okay. And first date goes well.
The first date went amazing. He felt like my husband.
What about the experience with him made you feel so comfortable?
I don't know what it was. I just felt safe. I felt like he was my husband. I can't describe it. And he, even on our first date, he said, "So what do you think about if we got married in 2 months?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe." And he spit out his water because he started choking, like he couldn't believe I said, "Oh, maybe."
Wow.
But that's a problem, though. Like, you're bringing this man to your kids, and you don't really have a sound reason why. That is my biggest problem with her story. Like, okay, it's cute. You had butterflies. Cool. Whatever that was, the spark, whatever. But you need a reason why. You need some time spent. You need to learn this person before you're able to tell somebody, yeah, I'll marry you in 2 months. That's a little wild to me.
But it felt so natural and so right. Yeah.
How old were you at this time, by the way?
I was 23 or 24 or something like that.
And what was his age?
45, 43, 45, something like that. I don't know.
Okay. So he's around 20 or so years older.
Yes, he's 20 years older.
Now, being a young woman at that time, 23, did you have any reservations about his age, or was that a concern at all, or was that just a typical yeah?
Okay, so I didn't get introduced to dating older men until I started watching Share 7. She just basically said, they got money. Yeah, exactly. They can be a better man to you. They can provide for you in the way that you would like, and your kids, and so I was like, okay. And it was a bit odd at first because I didn't initially jump right into online dating. And it was a bit
Hold on.
odd.
Let's play that part one more time.
Provide for you in the way that you would like, and your kids, and so I was like, okay. And it was a bit odd at first because I didn't initially jump right into online dating. I just, men would try to talk to me at the grocery store, and normally I just wouldn't even pay attention to older men. But I just started to be a little bit more approachable, I guess, to men of an older age. And I ended up meeting the first older man that I dated. And it was a little bit odd at first because I just wasn't used to dating an older man. But because he treated me well, it became easy. You know, you feel like a princess, you know.
I'm curious to, you said I started doing things to make myself more approachable to older men. Like things like what? What makes you more approachable to an older guy?
Just like smile more, or, you can make a little more eye contact, where normally if you don't go for a certain type, you're probably not even going to turn your head. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're not even going to look in their face. But, I was like, let me keep my options open. I always was attracted to men of color, so I typically stay in that range. But I was like, let me see about dating someone a little bit older. And after I did, I was like, oh, I could do this. It's not too bad.
That's very, very honest of you, and that makes a lot of sense. And
you weren't attracted to older men before until a YouTube video told you should go for older guys that are 20 years older than you. And on the first date with this stranger, he said, "What if we got married in 2 months?" And your answer to him was, "Maybe." No, that's a little strange. I'm all for accountability. We play a part in everything we experience in life, and I'm always trying to find, how did I play a part in anything that happens to me? I'm just saying it how I hear it. Comment below in the comment section what y'all thinking.
I want to ask the online aspect of it. Was that also a part of the strategy, so to speak, to be able to identify men that might be a little bit older?
It wasn't at first.
Okay.
Actually, one of my older sisters said, why don't you just try online dating? She was like, it's not too bad. And I never had online dated, like not made any type of profile.
Right.
Because I was like, I don't want people that know me to see me on here, and it's kind of embarrassing. And, that's just was my thought process at the time. But then she was like, no. And my oldest sister, she's gorgeous, so it's not like she doesn't have in-person options. But she was like, just try it. And so I tried it, did a paid dating app because I feel like it would be a little bit more, smaller pool of better people. Yeah, exactly. And I was able to meet, some good guys.
So how long after that first date, did you, because obviously he threw 2 months out. What happened after that first date? Did you guys continue exclusively dating?
Not really. I mean, we kind of dealt with each other, like talked, but I kind of was just talking to people. Like I kept my options open and just was letting people get to know me and taking things slow, not really rushing anything and not trying to get into a relationship at all. And I found that honestly, when I started dating older men, they wanted to rush into a relationship like immediately. On the first date, they were like, I want you to be my woman. And I'm like, no, I don't even know you. And that's kind of just how I would, we need to get to know each other over a bit of time. And it turned out to be 6 months, not 2 months.
I think that is very interesting because, and initially when you told me about the things that, your husband at the time was or the guy you was dating at the time, the things that he was saying, I thought, well, that's, kind of strange for him to be saying those types of things. But based on your experience, you're saying that the older men, this was regular conversation.
Yes, they wanted to take me off the market right away.
Wow.
Right away.
Okay. So at this point, 6 months goes down the line. And
that's really cute that they wanted to take her right off the market. It's one thing to have a conversation and say, how do you feel about marriage? Like, what is your thoughts surrounded around being a wife? It's one thing to have that conversation, but it's another thing to say, what if we got married in 2 months? That to me just says you're moving too fast. On the first date, we don't even know each other. Why would you want to marry me in 2 months?
What is the transition from you now taking him serious? What did you see? Because I know when it comes to the assessment of, deciding to be a husband, a lot of, what the noise is that, it was solely a financial decision that was made. What was what's the truth behind the decision? What did you see in him to actually make him your husband?
He was so good with my boys. He was so good with them. Even my oldest son responded to him in a way that he didn't respond to with my ex. And I paid attention to those little things because I would gladly leave a man if he didn't mesh well with my kids. And I had did that with the man that I was in a more serious relationship with right before we got married, because I had started, like, that was the man that we started looking at rings, and the relationship was, you know, moving forward, and I had moved in.
There was another gentleman
Yeah.
that you met, and I believe you said that you got caught in the girlfriend stage.
Yeah.
So could you detail what that relationship, how did you meet that guy, how did things kind of get started, and what exactly was the girlfriend stage?
We met online, and he just was, you know, very consistent. He just wanted to do anything to make my life easier. What can I do for you? What do you need? You know, very nice, and perfect gentleman. But he was nice to my children. All of the men were nice to my children. Like, if I met, there's probably 3 men that met my children. All of them were nice. But with him in particular, because we started to live together, and, you know, it was a little bit more of an intimate setting, I feel like him and my oldest son clashed a little bit, because my oldest son, I kind of always let him be the little man of the house in a way. And he's very, very smart, and highly intelligent child, and he, you know, is not just going to let any man come in and think that he's the boss right away. So there was an issue, and he said something about, can your son, you know, stay with a relative for a little bit?
Wow.
And I said, oh, you mean, can we go stay somewhere? That's what you mean. And I packed my stuff right away. My sister came and got me and all my stuff. And because it took 2 cars, I had my car, and she came with her car to get my stuff. And he brought my TV and stuff, like all the bigger things he brought. I asked him to bring it back the next day. But I left and I went back to my apartment, which I had to be out of soon. And I didn't plan to need to, you know, do anything else, because I thought the relationship was moving forward. I was his girlfriend, but, you know, he was taking very good care of me, and he seemed like a good guy. But when he said that about my son, I said, no, it's all of us. It's all of us. So I left him. And I remember that night I was in the shower and I prayed and I said, God, I just want someone that's going to love me and my children. That's what I want.
Now, I want to make sure that the audience is following us, because we pretty much, you know, I want to make sure we don't move too fast. But you have your second child, you 21, 22.
Yeah.
Some additional time elapsed. Now you're 23 and you're on the dating market. Doing a bit of online dating when you initially meet your current husband.
Yes.
But things progress a bit, but not too much to where you still keep your options open.
The other guy was just more consistent. He was always there. He was always, what do you need? You know, so he just was prioritized.
Understood. Now, this gentleman that you're dating, you decide at some point you want to move in with him.
Yes.
And what was the living situation? Is it he's already has a place where he occupies, and then you and your 2 boys move in? Okay, got you. And how long were you dating before the relationship ends?
I mean, we're moving pretty quickly. They're moving pretty quickly. I can't quantify a time. I can't remember exactly, but things moved pretty quickly. But he seemed like a good man, and I worked from home. So I always was able to keep an eye on my children. That was part of it. I was never leaving them with him, and no, I don't care if I have boys. I know people are crazy.
That makes sense. And in hindsight, with you and the boys moving in with this gentleman, is that something that you think the typical single mother just has to kind of, you know, be concerned with in terms of moving their children in with, you know, somebody that they're getting to know? Does marriage and commitment, you know, or what level of commitment should be taken?
So after she broke up with her last guy, she quickly moved in with another guy. If my little sister was to come up to me and tell me that she just broke up with her and whomever, and then got with another dude solely because he had a place to stay and she don't really know him, I would tell her, you're bugging. If you're going to do that, go be slow without my nephew. Now, I mean, don't bring my nephew with you, because you don't know this man like that. Anything can happen. You're still just a woman. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean, to a grown-ass man, especially if he's 20 years older than you can't defend yourself too much in his house. What if you go over there and he turned out to be crazy? That's a red flag. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, that's crazy. Earl, appreciate you.
Place before a woman does something like that.
Back then, if you would have asked me that, I would have said, you know, if a man's going to take care of you and your kids, and that's a good man, take it. But now, it's hard to even have the words. You have to be so careful. So careful. Because men are not just doing this to stepchildren, they're doing this to their own children too. And that's something that's just very scary and incomprehensible, to be honest.
Nah, that's
I understand.
So now this situation that happens, because now you're back in your apartment. You didn't expect to be here.
Yeah.
And it sounds like now we got some financial issues taking place.
Yeah.
And so what's the solution at this point?
It was crazy because when I prayed that night, he called me the next morning, and it was random. Like, I hadn't talked to him in a few weeks, and, you know, he would check in every time, but he just wasn't a priority. But he said, hey, how you doing? And I said, you know, just getting out of a relationship, and
okay, so
you
that's
know,
the point.
it didn't work out. Him and my oldest son didn't mesh well. And he said, well, you know, I love your boys. You know, they're good boys. I mean, they're, and the way my sons responded to him when the 2 times that they had met him was very good. Was
2
very
times.
good. And he seemed like a good guy. I mean, his parents own their own church, and he seemed to have all the values and all the right things and said all the right things. And I was like, you know, this is the only man that I feel like I've really been able to connect with God with. And that.
What is she talking about? I'm sorry. I got to call this out. She said that he was really good with her kids, and he only seen her kids twice. And then she's saying that she really connect with this is the only man she really connects with God. I guess a godly connection is what she's trying to say. But you're in a relationship with somebody else that you chose instead of him. And then how did this dude just miraculously call you? I mean, if it's God, it's God. But, yeah, I mean, like, how he miraculously called you the next day if y'all have not been talking, which y'all shouldn't have been because you was in a relationship. But, all right. Y'all know me. I'm very neutral. I'm not on no sides. I'm not going to call nobody wrong, but I'm going to call you BS if I hear BS.
That was something that was really powerful to me, because I feel like that was missing in, you know, any other relationships that I entertained. Is I didn't feel like we had a strong faith bond. And, you know, when you meet certain people and you just know that you can just talk about the Lord. It's okay just to talk about the Lord and how good God is, and just, you know. And I had that with him. And that was definitely a part of the choosing. I prayed and I said, God, please give me a sign if this is right. And I feel like God gave me all the green lights. I feel like he did. And I still feel like he did. And I just didn't know
She needed
that
someone to stay.
God wanted to use us.
Respectfully.
But that's just what ended up happening.
Do you feel like what he told you, or that love that he said he had, do you feel like that was genuine love, or was that predatory?
I'm unsure, because he didn't touch my boys. He did not. He did not. They've been interviewed. I asked them as soon as my daughter told me, and I always asked them, even before my daughter said that, because he's not their father. And I'll never trust a man 100% with my kids. I was always looking at him, even him changing our daughter's diapers. He would even say, oh, you know, I don't feel comfortable changing them because they're girls. Why don't you change them? Played the role so perfectly. He knew everything to say. But I almost wonder, did he want children? Because he really wanted children. That was a condition of our marriage. It was a condition.
What do you mean a condition? That's something like he wrote it down, or he
No,
told
that's what he said. He said, you know, when we started talking about the marriage, and he
I think that should be a red flag right there. Why are you scared to change your daughter? There's certain times, certain things just leave your mind. Like if that's not in you, if you're not looking at a situation like that doesn't even come across your mind that you're violating anything. It's your daughter. You know what I mean? Or it's your son. You should feel comfortable changing your kids. I don't know. Every time I hear that, I'm like, yeah, your mind is a little bit tainted, because I have a daughter and I have a son, and I never had like an issue changing my kids. Like, I don't know. I always think about that. Like, why is that a thing? Like, where people feel some type of way of changing their own kids. Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you, mama. You grab me some water, baby? Thank you. I have an amazing wife, y'all. My wife is amazing.
He said, you know, I just really want to have kids. You know, I haven't had any kids yet, and he's an older man. And I thought it was odd that he hadn't had any kids yet. But he said, you know, God just hasn't blessed me with kids yet, and I really, you know, want to have kids of my own. And I said, I'm willing to do that. I mean, if you're my husband, okay. And I wonder, was he trying to, did he have intentions? Because someone close to me said that sometimes predators like to grow their own prey. And that's a
Wow.
really sad thing. But there's stories of it.
Now, I want to go back just a bit, because you have just moved out with your two sons back into your
That's
apartment.
disgusting.
And now you're
wanna grow your
entertaining
own prey.
conversation, potentially dating again with your husband. How long after you move into your apartment do you accept his invitation to now move in?
Within days.
Okay.
Within days.
Come on, bro.
I mean, it was, I think that first conversation, like one of the first few conversations, he was like, well, I told him what I was going through. And I said, you know, I just need a place to stay for a little bit just to figure it out. And he said, well, if you come here, you're going to be my wife. And that was sexy to me. I was like,
Because
okay.
And I can imagine that, because you in emotional turmoil at that time. Finances is just tricky, just because you running into a bunch of unexpected things.
And he seemed like a good guy.
Yeah.
He did. If I thought he was a crazy man, I would have never entertained the idea.
How old were your boys at the time?
5 and 2.
5 and 2?
Yeah.
The 5-year-old, and see, I know it had to be a lot for the young boys too, because, you know, they just were introduced to this other brother here.
Yeah.
And now they got to see this new guy. What did the 5-year-old, did he express any concern, or he just kind of going with the flow? 5 years.
Yo, you know she's really a victim of. She's a victim of this sprinkle bullshit. I don't know much about it, but just, you know, taking a guesstimate, this sprinkle bullshit done hurt this woman, because you done moved into this man within days of knowing him, and you want to put that on God now. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's the sprinkle lies. Them sprinkle people. Nah, I mean, them sprinkle people told you take care of your kids. All right, go with them. He didn't even know your kids. Older man, go with him. It was your discernment, ma'am. You have to take a lot of accountability.
Honestly, we got married a week after that we started talking about the marriage, and at the wedding he said, "Can I call you Dad now?"
Wow.
And he said, "Oh my gosh, yes, that means so much to me."
And was his own father in his life?
Not like that.
Not really?
Not like that.
I get it. So he was excited to actually have somebody
A
he can
family.
call Dad and a family.
I thought it was one of the happiest days of our lives.
Wow.
In that span, from the time you moved in to the time you guys got married, how long was that?
From the time we got married and moved in?
Well, from the time you moved into his place.
I
to the
didn't
time
live
that-
with him before we got married.
Oh, wow. So
No.
better question, from the time from that phone call you guys had to marriage, how long was that?
1 week. It was a week. It was a week, and I didn't live there until the day after. I remember moving my stuff in the day before we were getting married, and
Yo, you serious right now? It was 1 week. 1 week. 1 week. So you jumped from one relationship to the next relationship and then got married in a week and moved your kids in. And you didn't even live with the man yet. You've never experienced living with this man, but you moved your kids in with him and married him within a week. I don't think she was ready for this interview. I don't think anybody sat down with her to explain to her what and what not to say. Because this sounds crazy. He was so good with your kids, he met them twice before y'all got married. That's crazy.
I didn't sleep there. I went to the hotel that he booked for me and my sisters, a very nice suite. We had a beautiful wedding reception. I mean, he threw it together so quick. He was just like, here, just do what you want to do. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Do you feel like if you had enough money in your bank account to comfortably pay rent and other things, would you have made that decision?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Probably, yes.
Because I know sometimes, when money's tight, that has a lot, finances just have a lot to do with our decisions.
But I was making good money. And that's why I said I only needed like a little bit of time to stay. Even if I was to stay with a family member, I mean, it just would have been a little bit because I was making good money working for my family.
Got it.
So I knew I would have been able to find something. I just hadn't had to plan to move so quickly.
Yeah.
And I moved my stuff in, went to the hotel, and the day after we got married, we went home.
Wow.
Started our lives.
And at that point, when you agreed to the marriage, if you could, give it on a scale to 1 to 10, how eager and excited were you to get married, and not to just get married to this particular gentleman, but just get married in general?
I was over the moon. I thought it was my fairy tale. God. It seemed almost too good to be true. I just kept praising God, how good God was.
What do you mean is too good to be true? How good did you think it was? You're moving in with somebody you don't know. So how is it too good to be true? You needed somewhere to stay. He had a place to stay. But the stipulation was, you got to marry me. And y'all got married within a week. It ain't too good to be true. Oh my goodness.
That this happened for me and my children, and we were finally a family, I thought.
And at this time, when you decide to make the decision and you go about, informing your family, how did they receive that information?
They were shocked. I actually made my husband come ask my ex. I made him come ask my mother for my hand.
Wow.
That was a requirement for me to marry him to me. And he did so, and he was very respectful and just said, I'll take wonderful care of your daughter. She'll never have to worry. And her sons, they're mine now. And he said all the right things. And my family was there when we got married. I mean, I think they were like a little hesitant because of how quickly.
You saw no actions. He just was saying the good words.
He seemed like he really loved me and my sons.
Was that the first time that you've ever had a man to not only profess his love for you, but to also profess his love for your two boys at that time?
I would say that men always would try to be nice and, just because, but I felt like they wanted me. I'm going to be nice because I want her, not because it was genuine. I could tell he really wanted to be a dad.
Wow.
He really wanted to be a dad. And it just showed. It just showed. And everyone was so excited. He bought them all new toys. picked out what beds do you want for them? Do you want to do their room? Whatever you want.
Also, he was very serious about getting everything set up.
That man at action.
She don't watch enough TV.
That is something women respect.
First 48 would have avoided all of this.
Point
One episode
that
of it.
you started seeing some signs that things might not have been right with him.
Honestly, early on. Not even a
Shit get
month,
worse
some
and
girl, his ex, was showing up at the doorstep. And she was like, well, he was supposed to be with me because we got married so fast. So,
Wow.
you know, I guess she was maybe hanging around, or I don't know. And she looked very, very, very young. But she was of legal age. I think she was 21, a few years younger than me. But she looked like a child.
Wow. So that was pretty much his type for the most part.
I told him, how can you be attracted to her? Because she doesn't have a body or anything. She looks so young. And he was just like, he wouldn't really say much. But I'm like, well, I guess.
This is why you should have dated this man for at least a year before y'all got married. Again, you have to take accountability for that. Because you didn't go through the process of getting to know him or getting to know his crazy ex. You know what I mean? You needed a place to stay, so you moved in. So everything that comes with that, along with the ghost that night, is on you. Because you didn't test out to see how stable the foundation of the house was. You just moved in because you needed some shelter. And somebody in the comments said it perfectly. If you're a God-fearing woman, go stay with some family members. Go stay in a shelter. But staying with a stranger that tells you got to marry them is crazy.
Yes, she is an adult. It's not illegal. I guess it's not weird, but to me, it's odd. Well, she told me how old she was. She just came. We talked for a little bit, and it was,
I mean, she shows up at the house.
He wasn't there. She was sitting on the step when I pulled up at home.
That was the first red flag. Okay. And then did it get progressively worse, or did it get better after that?
He was very controlling very early on. I remember actually the day we got married, I started seeing how insecure he was. He always thought I was looking at other men, like just imagining it seemed. Or maybe not even imagining it, maybe just trying to scare me into not ever thinking about doing it. I don't know.
And this is a man who has already expressed that he wants to grow a family. He wants to have children outside of the 2 young boys you already have.
Yes.
How would you describe your sexual relationship?
With him?
Correct.
Vanilla, normal. Seemed like a normal guy. He wasn't.
So nothing.
No, he just I never would think that this man
see
would
that question
do
coming.
this stuff. He hit it so well. Even if I saw him watching adult videos, it was grown women that look like me. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're thinking about me. That's okay. Nothing like that. Not at all. He already knows I don't play that because he knew.
And was there any level of aggression or anything that?
Yo, the craziest part is that she's saying all of this stuff now. This is why you got to be careful what you listen to on social media. If you don't have counseling in your life, I'm all for YouTube University and learning through YouTube videos. But this is why this is so dangerous. She's saying that she's seen insecurities early on. She's seen all these red flags early on. Exes popping up early on. But did y'all know that her platform was built on her talking about how to become a trophy wife? In other words, how to be a woman in her position. But she's not giving women the context of what's actually happening. She's giving them the good parts. And then when she couldn't handle it anymore, now she's telling the truth. But now you done convinced all these other ladies to live that same life with no context of what you're actually going through. You wasn't a trophy wife. You was a homeless wife. And that's a fact. You was a homeless wife and you needed somewhere to stay. And you told everybody you was a trophy wife.
Ever became violent towards yourself? Like, did he ever have any of that energy towards you?
He never put his hands on me like that. No.
Okay.
He never put his hands on me. He was not physically abusive to me, but he was sexually abusive. I guess that is physically abusive.
Okay.
But when he first, what people have to understand is marital, I don't even know how to say it. Marital R word is never talked about. And it's a real thing. And I think I read it didn't even become illegal until 1970 something.
Mm.
So you have to think he may have grown up. This is a normal part of life. You own your wife. And he would use scripture to manipulate me. You know, your body is not your own. It belongs to your husband. Wow. And, you know, that type of stuff too. And he would gaslight me. And I would be crying. Like, first it starts off, you think, oh, you know, he's just trying to have sex and I just don't want to. And it's like, you know, I'm telling him no. And, you know, you think he's playing at first. And it's like, no, I'm serious. And then it gets to the point where you're like, he's not stopping. And I'm like fighting him and crying like, no. And it happened 4 times. But I remember the last time something in me said, don't fight and don't cry. Just lay there. He couldn't even finish.
So after all of this, why did you not leave? I feel like that answer right there can debunk you being an opportunist. Why did you not leave? Why did you not take you and your boys after experiencing all of this so early on? Why did you not leave? Because it seemed like this stuff was happening very frequent.
He just got off of me and just said, we're getting a divorce.
He's a disgusting motherfucker. I know I have not said that in this video yet because I'm all for accountability and I'm just pointing out the flaws in what she's saying. But since I have not spoke on him, let me just take this little second to say, he disgusting. If he did any of this stuff, he a dirty motherfucker. You know what I mean? But she invited this dirty motherfucker into her life, which is why I'm speaking directly towards her. You know what I mean? There's skeezers out here. There's dirty niggas out here. You know what I mean? That really be preying on soft women. Like women that just don't have it all the way together in the head. Them niggas is corny. But this is why we need to take accountability so we can grow to not invite those kind of people into our lives. Same thing for guys. There's women that will prey on your money. Get all your money and then find another dude with some money and then get with him. This is why we need to strengthen our discernment. How do you strengthen your discernment? Is by taking accountability in situations that played against you, which is what I'm speaking on when I'm talking about her right now.
And I realized that he was just attracted to the sadistic part of it.
Hold on, wait. So you used to fight him and cry, and you felt like that was what turned him on? Because
It was for sure. Because the last time it happened, when I just laid there, like I just had to be very quiet. Like I just knew just to lay there like a dead fish, basically. And he just couldn't even finish.
Did you ever think to, file a criminal report when that was happening, or did you just not want to do that because that was your husband?
It didn't even, it's hard. There was so much gaslighting. He'd finish and then be like, babe, why are you crying? I thought you wanted it. And hold you and rub you, and I love you so much. The next day, you and the kids everybody's getting new clothes, and and you're thinking, oh, my husband is a good guy, he's not, and I am his wife. I mean, my body does belong to him, and it says in the Bible. So, what am I complaining about? But the last time, he never did it again because he knew that I knew.
Somebody in my comment section, I want to speak towards this. Somebody in the comment says, Because it takes victims on average 7 times to leave fully. On the outside, we don't understand because it's not logical to us, which I completely understand. Here's the thing. It seemed like things happened more than 7 times. She said stuff was happening in the beginning. I mean, exes was popping up in the beginning. He was graping her throughout the relationship. So at what point in time do you stop making your videos at the least? If you ain't gonna leave, stop making videos telling women to get a man like this. How you did it. Stop doing that. Stop making it seem like everything is gravy. Because I feel like those things tie into each other. The same way it's an opportunity to sit here and sell a dream to another woman, the same way it was to just stay in that relationship because y'all was receiving toys the next day. That's how I feel about it. I'll put that out there.
What it was about.
So, by the way,
her being an opportunist got her into the situation. That's the best way I could put it.
were you his first wife?
I didn't even realize how many times that man had been married before I married him. I'm his 4th wife.
Wow.
Did you know that before marriage?
No, his mom slipped up and told me.
She knew she wasn't supposed to tell you that.
I don't know. He had told me he was married
This all
2 other
comes back
times,
to
but
one
he said
thing.
that the women cheated on him and
You married
whatever.
somebody you didn't know.
Did you find that out to be true? Did you ever speak to his ex-wives?
I spoke to one ex-wife, but she was so reluctant to even talk to me. I don't even know what he put her through because she was just like, when you called me, it took me back to a bad place. And I was like, oh, she was just didn't share much.
I don't know if that's true either. Because when you get married, the court actually lets you know how many times this person has been married. Like, it's something that you have to confess legally. Now, I mean, in front of the court to your person. Like, it was a process for me and my wife. It was a moment where we was both like, they was like, have you ever been married before? And, you know, both of us said no. But it was like a thing that I was thinking like, dang, I didn't even know that was a question they asked. So for you to have found out years later or some time later.
Okay. Now, amidst the abuse, you are still together. You're still growing a family.
Mm-hmm.
And now you are, if I'm not mistaken, 3 daughters in.
Well, I got pregnant with our first daughter 4 months into the
4
marriage.
months to the marriage.
We
Okay.
had been trying to conceive from the time that we got engaged. The time he put the ring on my finger, it was, all right, you know.
This man
we
rushed
knew we were
everything.
getting married. So he was so excited. He was so excited.
Yo, this is
You know, what I'm curious about is
crazy.
in this, it just seems, I mean, this is a lot.
Very sensitive topic, y'all. Please don't take my laughter as saying that the situation is a joke. It's just the way this played out could have been avoided, y'all. Am I the only one that feels that way? Hearing this story, all this stuff was so avoidable. Everything moved way too fast. You moved in fast. You didn't know him. He barely knew your kids, but you claim he knew your kids. He was rushing to have some kids. Like, this is crazy.
It's a lot. I can imagine. Were you happy in your marriage at all?
I was. I mean, there was good and bad, but we had a good friendship. Like, and that, I think that was, you know, one of the main things. We loved to watch movies together and spend time together, and we loved to, you know, do things with the family, and I thought we had a good life together, and it's not like we were not intimate. Like, we were always intimate. We had a normal marriage for the most part, other than him being controlling, very, very controlling. But to me, it was easy to comply because he gave us the world.
How long were you guys married?
For 5 years.
Okay. And
not a
so when
normal
did you actually get into, you know, because I think as a whole, me and Ryan, we have this, I know starting a YouTube channel is a whole nother situation. Because was that your full-time business as a wife? Like, was that what you were doing full-time, or did you have a job and your YouTube channel?
I stopped working shortly after we got married.
Okay, so you a housewife at this point.
Yeah, he paid all the bills. If I made any money from YouTube, it was
all,
I could,
it was all
yeah,
yours.
I could get things for the kids. That's a lot of stuff I like to buy. But yeah, and he provided everything else. I mean, he didn't ask me for anything, and he was an amazing provider. Anything I wanted, he gave me.
That's all I'm hearing.
No, I want to address this too.
The only thing I'm hearing is he was giving me stuff. He was giving me stuff. He was providing for me. We had a normal marriage. He was taking care of me. But he was very controlling. A normal marriage is not a controlling person. A normal marriage is somebody that you connect with on a spiritual level. You didn't know him. You just saying he's just taking care of you and being controlling. And y'all getting spicy.
Too, because I think it's important, because you've touched the lives of a lot of ladies. And I'm just curious to know, because again, coming today who you are, even me and myself and Ryan, when life puts you through things, who you are now, 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, it changes.
Yeah.
Would you say that with your now today mind and who you've grown into and become and how you've seen life play out, is the advice that you gave to women, would you say that was still sound for the most advice that you will stand on to this day? Or do you think there's some things that you'll
Absolutely
go?
not. Absolutely not. Absolutely
Wow.
not.
Wow.
If you
wow,
have
wow.
kids, I honestly think that it's more safe to just try to have a relationship completely outside of your kids, if you can.
That
That
accountability
may look
is wonderful.
like you guys living in two different places, but and this is maybe just be my trauma speaking.
Well, were you saying that if you're married to someone and you already have kids, you're saying that women should probably keep their kids 100%?
I'm saying more so if they're dating. When
they're
it gets into
dating.
marriage, that's different. But like dating and living with men and doing that, like you should just not. And I was lucky that I worked from home. But can you imagine, if I, there's probably so many men just like, wait till she goes to work. And it's just sad.
Man.
I think what makes your story even more polarizing, as it already is, with you recalling these events, is the content that you were putting out online, the self proclamation of being a trophy wife. And I think that's what has a lot of people stirred up all over the world at this point, because millions of people have seen the video.
Well, when I created my platform, I wanted to redefine the term trophy wife into a woman that is the Proverbs 31 woman, which is my favorite verse in the Bible, and I believe that every woman should aspire to be. It's not just about how pretty you are. It's about, are you, being a good mom? What are your values? Are you choosing a man of values? And I thought that I was talking about the right thing. And, I don't think it's bad for a woman to want a successful man. I'm never going to say that a woman should just not care at all, how a man shows up, because the success is honestly a manifestation of different attributes within the man. It's just a manifestation of being a hard worker, persistent, faithful, all the things that success is a fruit of. So I still stand by that. But when it comes to dating as a single mom, luckily he didn't prey on his stepchildren, but what if he did?
What I want to do here, it's a blessing to say this, but Dr. Spirit actually did show up here backstage today. So one of the greatest, most world-renowned therapists is actually backstage to join us in this conversation.
Yes. A man that is successful, it definitely says something about his character and the type of person he is. But when you chase somebody that is successful, you're idolizing the money in the situation. You're putting money too high up on the scale. And a man with money can see it coming. Instead of looking for genuine connection, healing your traumas to make genuine connection, understanding what a trauma bond is. This is the work that I had to do with myself, but men, we do it differently. We have to stop being we have to stop attracting the wrong things because of what our younger self was attracted to. If y'all know what that means. That's the messages you want to give people. It's not this is how you attract a successful man.
Sensation.
3,300 people in the chat. The chat is going bananas right now. Dr. Spirit, thank you for joining us. Where's she at?
Absolutely,
Hey.
Ken Lano.
Hey,
Dr.
guys.
Spirit, what's
Hey.
up with you, Dr. Spirit? Everybody, welcome.
Hey.
Drop a Dr. Spirit in the chat real quick.
I like that. Dr. Spirit got that set too. That's looking nice back there.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm working late at the office, so I couldn't come into the studio, but they told me that you needed me, so I'm here.
Absolutely.
Oh, listen, Dr. Spirit, I already know you one of the busiest therapists in the world. All right, so I am absolutely blessed.
It's a long day.
I know. Every day is probably a long day. But we have Isis Morales here, who has, one of the most viral stories and testimonies right now on the internet, who came in here to join us.
Okay.
I know you like to come in absolutely blank because Dr. Spirit said, prior, I don't want to know anything. I want to come in with a blank slate. I just want to come in and meet the young lady and talk to her. And the purpose, by the way, because I want you to be able to do what you do with Isis, because this situation is not
very
unique,
interesting.
unfortunately.
This is very interesting.
So I would like you to give her the best counsel that you could, and also just in general, any other ladies that might be in a situation, how they can move forward and advance, who might have experienced something similar. But in general, Dr. Spirit, I would like you to go ahead and take it from here.
Well, one of the things that I really want to ask, and I feel bad that I'm just jumping in because I'm sure you probably already shared this story with the audience, but what is it that you need from me tonight? How can I help you? I'm not familiar with your story. I'm not familiar with the viral moment. I'm not familiar with anything. And I'm meeting you for the first time where you are. And so as you think about where you are and what it is that you're going through in your life right now, how can somebody who does the work that I do, how can I serve you tonight?
I think that, I don't think my therapist has definitely told me that I have post-traumatic stress disorder from these events. And I've kind of taken on a shape or this feeling of I just never think that I can trust a man again because of, if my own children's father, their biological father, the man that, made them, would do this, then who can I trust? And I told a woman this the other day, and she said, that spirit that's been following you and your family, that generational curse, that spirit that's in charge of that generational curse, it doesn't want you to be married. And it hit home so much to me. And how do I heal? How do I heal?
Well, tell me, how have you decided that because I was in a relationship with one man who did unthinkable, unspeakable things to me, how have you decided that he is a representation of all men? And that somehow that now means that you could never trust another man when you're even sitting with two men being trustworthy tonight, sharing your story, and all the other people who are supporting you in the chat tonight? Tell me about this idea of I can never trust an entire gender ever again.
It's not about that I believe I can't. It's that I just don't know if I can take the chance. That's it. I just feel like I can't take the chance.
How is that different? It's not that I can't. I just can't take the chance. So that says then it's not that I don't trust all men. It's that you don't trust yourself at this point.
Exactly. Because my husband appeared to be such a good dad. And I just would have never, ever, ever expected him to do this. So it may be my own judgment, it may be my own trauma, and I just feel maybe I don't trust myself to ever be with a man again. And people talk about hypervigilance, and I was always a hypervigilant mom. He knew that he had to be the sneakiest of sneaky because I was always watching. So to me, how can I even rationalize what has happened to even think about ever wanting to move on again.
So when you say, I don't trust myself or my judgment ever again, what is it that you're not trusting not to happen?
I'm just scared. I'm just scared. That's all. I'm just scared.
Scared that what?
Someone could appear to be someone that they're not.
And what would happen if that's the case?
Lives could be ruined.
When you say, I'm just scared that lives can be ruined, what is the story that you are telling yourself that causes you to then conclude as a choice, I'll simply never trust again? You're giving these little snapshots, but you're not telling the whole story.
Well, I'm about to
I
follow
think-
Dr.
Curious
Spirit.
about the story.
I think I keep blaming myself and saying, how could I have missed this? How could I have missed this? How could I have missed this? It repeats over and over. How could I have missed this? And it's just a very scary thought that I just don't want to have to ever have again in any other situation.
So when you ask yourself the question, how could I have missed this? Is the fear that as I go forward, I will miss things again?
I just am not interested in wanting to find out. Unfortunately, and I know with my therapist, she said it's going to take time to heal, and I need you to understand that all men are not predators, and this is just your PTSD speaking right now. So you guys are seeing me real and raw, unhealed completely. We're all still healing. We're all in therapy, family therapy, individual therapy. We're doing all the things. But, this is just me right now. This is my truth right now today. And I'm just here sharing it.
And my heart goes out to you and the family. I think that you're doing all of the right things, and it may take a very long time. And I want you to know that healing does not mean that you will ever forget. But the thing that becomes important is that as you are moving forward in your healing, that you don't tell yourself a story that stops you from finding the healing that goes along with this. Because right now, because one person that you were married to did heinous things, now you will block yourself in that space. But you're not telling yourself, I'll never have friends again.
Yeah.
You're not telling yourself that we'll never play with cousins again. You're not telling yourself that I don't have to worry about anybody else anywhere in the world. You have decided that one man who sat in the place of a spouse is somehow in a position that now makes you decide that only a spouse is who I need to be careful of. Only a spouse is who I need to be watchful for. And what I want you to understand is it wasn't about the role that he played, it was about the man that he was. And so as you are in your healing journey, what I want you to be able to learn is about how do you protect yourself and your children and your community from predators.
Well,
Not every man is a predator. Not every woman is a predator.
I do understand, and that has been a part of my healing journey, is reading different books. I ordered Father-Daughter Incest by Judith Lewis Herman, I believe is her name. How to Keep Kids Safe. I forget the author, but I'm trying to figure out how I can use my platform to help women never have to go through something like this. And I recommend that, honestly, women need to have surveillance in general on their children. And like I said, I don't know if that's just my PTSD speaking, but we just have to be very watchful because there are predators and they always look like the good guy most of the time.
Well, and when we talk about predators, what I want people to understand is that predators are not just men. Unfortunately, women can commit these kinds of acts as well.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to exclude that.
No. So right now what I want to do is just kind of educate the audience. You are going through some excellent therapy, so you are finding the healing that you need. And what is important is that we learn as a community how to become stewards and protectors of our children. The reality is that 1 in 4 girls and an estimated 1 in 7 boys will deal with sexual molestation before the age of 18. So the numbers are staggering. The number of people who are in this chat tonight who have experienced some form of sexual abuse before they were 18 years old is staggering. And that means so many people have not been treated for the post-traumatic stress disorder, for the depression, for the anxiety, and all of the other issues that come as a result of child sexual abuse.
Yes.
And when we talk about this, we also have to recognize, as you are hearing this story tonight, that it's not about Chester, the child molester. It's not about the strange van or the stranger in the neighborhood. 90% of victims know their abusers, and they are family members, they are friends, they are individuals who are stewards of children. And until we become very educated about what it means for predators to seek out and get access to their prey, and what makes people have the potential to be victims, we will not know how to adequately protect our children nor ourselves. And that is the takeaway that I really want everybody to understand tonight.
Thank you.
There you have it. Dr. Spirit, I appreciate you for coming up here in such absolute short notice.
Yes. Thank you.
And you know, just talking you know, to our sister here, because I mean this is a touchy situation. I wanted, you know, obviously
This is a very touchy situation. I feel like we should be light with it, but we should still call out nonsense because she's saying she doesn't understand how she missed this. She doesn't understand like how she allowed this to happen. But not only did you move in with a stranger, this man was doing stuff to you. Like the writing was on the wall at that point. That there's something sadistic about this man.
you know, we asking questions, and we're getting her.
So if she had to learn anything, that's you need to take your time. Nah, I mean, you need to learn how to really get to know people. Don't sit here and demonize all men now. Nah, get to know people.
Her story, her testimony, but I wanted somebody to be able to give her some insight. You know, especially, I mean, it's babies involved, you know, in this situation, families involved.
Sad.
In fact, the world is involved, you know, at this point.
Well, and I want to know if you all have questions. One of the populations that I have worked with over the years have been convicted sex offenders. And so I have had an inside understanding in the minds of individuals who have behaved in such ways. And I'm curious whether it is this young lady that you guys are speaking with tonight, or if it's members in your chat who may have had questions about how do they protect themselves, how do they protect their communities. What is it that people need to know in order for us to not only heal each other, but in order to make sure that there are no more victims among those that we love?
Yes. Please share with us any knowledge that you have is helpful, not only to myself, but to everyone.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat so we can come up, so the audience can come up and join Dr. Spirit up here.
Absolutely, y'all. So go ahead. It's about that time. Dr. Spirit, we got your time tonight. I know it's nice and late. You gonna rock with us here tonight?
I'm gonna rock with you for a few minutes. I'll give you a good 20, 30 minutes. Come on.
There you go. We got about a good 20, 30. So y'all get some free therapy. I think Dr. Spirit is like 3 years back rolled right now. If you're trying to get some real therapy from Dr. Spirit,
we'll take it. Thank
so
you,
we're gonna
ma'am.
go ahead and we'll get a light 30 minutes in. So Ryan is dropping the link in the chat, and what we're gonna do is you guys can head backstage when you want to join, and we'll bring you guys right on up. All right.
And I think it's quite a bit we can speak about. And I know,
Somebody in my chat just brought up a really good point. And it says her perception is not like ours. She's a victim herself. Her mind was already subject to abusive environments, hence why she ended up in an abusive situation. That is very true. That is very true. And I did not even think about that. I did not think about that at all. That trauma, this all may be a trauma response from when she was a kid. Damn, Keisha, are you a therapist? Keisha in the chat really just dropped a bombshell, because that's real. People do react out of their traumas. And the things that we're experiencing, although we could sit here and, and I didn't have that trauma, so I don't think through that. Same way I have like PTSD from being deployed in Iraq. The way I see a situation and react to it may be completely different from somebody else. So I definitely appreciate that comment, Keisha. And I take heed to that.
Getting into the relationship with your husband, it was fairly quickly, and it was something that she was really, really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And, it was so many messages that I passed from our family, some good, some not so good. And then the messages that I passed through media. I think a lot of us can go out and look for love, and we don't always find, the fairy tale, picture and kind of how things are set up. So I think it's just so much to learn from your story. So guys, please call in. I'm dropping the link in the chat now. We got the awesome, the honorable, the most lit Dr. Spear joining us, and she's ready to drop a ton of game on y'all. So please call in, and we're gonna bring you up one by one.
Absolutely, Lano. So do we got some people backstage that we could go ahead and start rolling up? And please, by the way, if you're backstage, put your cameras on, guys.
Yes.
We will not let you up if your cameras are not on. So put your cameras on, and we'll have you come up. We just ask that you guys be respectful in this time, so we can conduct a productive conversation. But we're going to let the people come up now. Who we got backstage, Lano?
We got Shy TV is tough.
Okay, go ahead and bring my brother up. Darwin, what's up with you, brother? Brother, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What's up with you, brother? If you can't, I got your name. Can you give me your age and your location?
Age is 38, Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. What's
ATL.
up with ATL here? So what's your question for us tonight, Darwin?
My question is, I noticed the woman said she saw the signs. So if you see the signs before your kids come into a picture, how much is this self-inflicted?
I said I didn't see the signs until after we were married already, so we were already invested as a family at that point.
What I'm hearing is that your kids, you had kids after you got married, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So you said in the beginning of the marriage, I think in another video or maybe even a day, you said in the beginning of your marriage, he was pretty much sexually violating you. So what I'm seeing is that you knew that this man was offensive or abusive, but then you went on ahead and had kids with him. So that means that, for me, you put your kids in danger.
I think that's the narrative that you want to put on the situation, but that's not the reality of what it was. And like I said, I was very heavily manipulated by scripture. He, would use it. He would gaslight me, and after I hadn't even I don't even know if I was pregnant yet after the last time it happened. So, in every other way, he was a good man. I didn't think that it was worth throwing my family away, or the family that we were trying to create, because he had done those things. And unfortunately, I didn't realize that would mean that he would go on to abuse his own children. I don't know how someone would correlate the two.
A predator is a predator.
That's just my opinion.
Now, Darwin, I want you to hold tight, because I think that was a valid concern. I think a lot of men feel that way. I mean, you could read through the comments of the video that went viral. A lot of men have this perception of what they think victimhood should look like. So, Dr. Spirit, I want to get your help here, because for the people who are posing this types of question, hey, if you've already experienced this abuse, or you've already experienced some of these negative things, how could you continue to move forward in a relationship? Dr. Spirit, could you give us some context on why someone who has been victimized may continue to continue with the relationship?
Because oftentimes a victim believes that it's something that is unique to them. They don't believe that the person that they love could be, even would consider doing more heinous things. Oftentimes they think that that's something that's specific to their relationship.
Makes sense.
So again, I don't know the story here, I don't know the backstory. But when we're talking about a victim of abuse, they don't necessarily think if I have children with someone, they will abuse someone too. And I want you to remember this, because it's very easy to sit back and judge somebody when you have a healthy mind in a space that is absent of trauma. When you are caught in a cycle, the way that you see things, the way that you feel about things, the way that your brain operates is very different. So that may be also why you're hearing how she was perceiving relationships before she had therapeutic support and how she's perceiving those things now. And so I just want you guys to be very careful. It is very hard to understand what victims go through if you have never been a victim yourself. But one of the things that most victims will tell you on the other side of healing is that nobody is judging or critiquing them more, and nobody is suffering more than the victims who are going through the experience.
Well,
So
the reason
asking questions are important, but asking them from a place of objectivity is even more important.
Well, the reason
And
why I'm
Darwin,
framing
Darwin,
my
we're gonna
question-
let you close out here so we can get to the other callers. But go ahead, brother.
The reason why I frame my question like that is because she believes in what I believe in. I believe in God. So she gave me a source of a way to hold her accountable when she start saying God this and God that. And if you read the word, you would know that sexual immorality or physical abuse or anything like that is pretty much grounds for divorce. And that supersedes any type of gaslighting or emotional manipulation. If she's so grounded in the word and scripture, that actually supersedes any of the other offenses this man put towards her. And that's the reason why I frame my question like that. Because if we're gonna call ourselves spiritually driven and backed by biblical principles, started as my son in background, we have to be unwavering. We have to be unwavering. And that's the only reason why I frame my question like that. But my sorrows goes out to you. I hope that you can heal from this. And I appreciate you, Dr. Spirit, for talking to the lady.
I appreciate you as well. And please understand, for everybody that may be in the chat tonight, I want you to understand that it's not about defending anybody. It's not about debating anybody. The only thing that I want to do is offer as much clarity as possible, because I want us all to be our best selves. And I wish that more pastors had Darwin's perspective. I wish that more church members had that perspective that says be unwavering in support of victims, because most folks who are working with church folks who are being wounded by their partners, who are being wounded by their spouses, who are being wounded by family members, if we were unwavering in abuse and we protected and stood up for one another, we wouldn't have victims stand in situations trying to take it to prayer closets, praying it away, acting like it doesn't matter, being ashamed, and keeping that trauma a secret. So here for healthy, however we have to find it.
Absolutely. And thanks so much, Darwin, for joining us.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Let's get the next one up here. We got the.
Hey, but to what he said though, he was on something in the beginning, but I feel like the way he ended out, holding her accountable with as far as, the biblical references and stuff, I have to bring this up because again, I got to call it how I see it. She was young, and just because she is into her word doesn't mean she knows everything of the Bible. And I mean, there's a lot of Christians that don't know everything of the Bible. So, she may not have been clear on that point. And listening to an older man, there are ways you can manipulate scriptures. A lot of pastors do it to his liking to make her feel like, oh, this is just how it is. And, to her being young and naive, that is possible. So that's the only thing I'll say towards what he said. But the way he started out and he was grilling her, it was a great question. Like, did you not see the red flag?
We got a young lady coming up here. What's her name? Ayana, what's up with you, sister? How you doing?
Well, this is like such a sad story, just in general. So I first wanted to say I'm so sorry to Isis that you even had this experience. I wouldn't wish this type of thing on anybody. My question is, in hindsight, is there any like small signs that now seem like they were a bigger thing? Like, is there anything that you can think back on possibly that maybe now you're like, oh my gosh, that might have been a signal that this person
Everything.
was an evil monster?
The signs were very,
maybe not
very
that.
small and covert, to be honest. When I think back, little things,
He graped you.
sometimes my daughter, she would, it appeared that her and my husband, or her, both of my daughters and my husband had a very good relationship. But sometimes she would come when we were sitting together and she would say, "Mommy, I love you the most." And she would only say it when he was around. So sometimes little signs like that, it's not always a red flag at the time, but now in hindsight, I'm like, was she just trying to tell me that she didn't feel safe around him?
Wow. Now, Dr. Spirit, I do want you to chime in on this because Isis did mention about, her spouse being controlling as well. So what are some things that the ladies and also, guys should look for when it comes to identifying if a partner may, eventually become controlling or manipulative?
Well, there's a difference between controlling and manipulative and sexual abuse. So I want us to be very clear on that.
Got you.
And so when we're talking about how do we protect children from sexual abuse, one of the things that we have to let them know is that we are unwavering in our protection of them. And as much as we love our spouses, their mommies or their daddies, we don't love anybody and won't protect anybody more than we will protect them.
Amen.
And if they ever have something to tell us, we will believe them.
Amen.
So it's important for us to have those kinds of conversations with our children. It's important for us to use the right language about their body parts and about privacy. And especially to your point, Ryan, when you're talking about control, you want to make sure that children know that nobody has control over their bodies except for them. So not mommy, not daddy, and no one has the right to touch your penis. We don't call it a pecker or a Johnny or a Johnson, we call it a penis. We don't call a vagina a pocketbook or cookies or cupcake or anything else fun. We call it a vagina. We talk about breasts. We talk about having privacy and being able to cover up. We talk about you being able to take care of your private areas. And that if anybody touches you in ways that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can come and talk to me about it, and I will believe you, and no one will be in trouble in ways that will hurt you. And so we have to be emphatic about those conversations. We have to periodically ask our children, has anyone said anything to you that has made you feel uncomfortable? Has anybody asked you to keep secrets from mommy or from daddy and not tell us?
Yo, quick check. Is the stream still good? Because it looked like it's bugging on my side, but just let me know if the stream is still good in the chat.
Has anybody said that they want to do things to you or have done things to you and they tell you that if you tell, they will hurt me or they will hurt daddy? We have to learn how to be able to ask the right questions, because predators not only know how to scare our children, how to isolate our children, but also they know how to make our children have affection and care and regard for them. So even though they may feel uncomfortable, they may feel more uncomfortable telling on that individual. And so that's why we have to learn how to take care of our children and let them know that nobody has the right to make them feel uncomfortable or do things to them that are outside of your purview as their parent.
One thing I do want to say, Dr. Spirit, is that these type of conversations are conversations I have with all of my kids.